Hello everybody, it is me, Sacred G, and welcome back to another video. So today, before I do start with today's video, I am not saying that you should use drugs. With that out of the way, this is for educational purposes only, so let's get started with today's video. It's going to be very interesting. So I kind of wanted to talk about this. The reason I haven't uploaded in a week is because I've been going through this really weird spiritual, I guess, quote-unquote, awakening. So a few weekends ago, I tried DMT. It was through a contact that we knew, and funnily enough, like, he offered, and at first I was like, no. Okay, I was like, nah, I don't know. And I thought about it. I gave it some thought, and I was like, okay. So I'm outside, sitting in our back porch, and I think, if I remember correctly, I believe, yeah, it was 3 hits, you know, it's pretty much what you do, and you hold it in, and then you just kind of sit back, close your eyes, and enjoy the ride. So I'm going to try to remember exactly what I saw. It was actually very euphoric. A lot of people say they, like, see these entities. The only entity, I guess you could say, I saw was the angel. So I saw these shapes start from the corner of my vision, so I knew that I was actually getting ready to blast off. So what ended up happening is that I saw the shapes. They're like squares, and they formed into diamonds, and when I closed my eyes, the person that we were with said something about architecture, and I was like in this tomb, this multicolored tomb with these, the squares that turned into tiles. I don't remember the color of the squares that turned into diamonds and then shaped into something. I don't remember, but the second trip I do. But I was in this tomb, and I remember seeing hieroglyphics, and the whole time I was like, whoa, it was like one of those experiences. It's like, whoa, and I felt very good. I was laughing. I remember I was laughing, actually. And then I went out of the tomb, and I don't remember what happened after that. I think I went through, like, that, multicolored tunnel is what I call it. But it was still the squares and tiles. It was, like, forming as I went through. And I'm not very religious, and I'm not going to try to get religious here. I was in space or something, and I saw, like, these clouds or these mountains. I can't remember which ones, but they were like really oddly shaped mountains. It was like the shape of a ice cream scoop, and this huge fucking hand, dude, came out of nowhere, and I was like, whoa. And then it not punched, but it went through the clouds or the mountains, the ice cream scoop shape clouds or mountains, and it pulled them apart, and this fucking beautiful stream of gold colored light, like yellow light, golden color, came through. And I was like, I even think if I am remembering correctly, I remember even saying something under the lines of, like, bring it on, and then I went through it, and I made it to this gate, which I perceived as the gates of heaven, And as I was there, I saw this, like, I couldn't even see the actual form of this angelic being, because the way I could tell by it was shaped, it was a beautiful woman, and the shape was so beautiful, actually. After coming out, I was like, oh, damn, I want to see that again. And I saw the shape of the angel was a woman, and I remember talking to it. It was saying, come on in. I was like, no. I even was like, no, I don't, really want to. I shouldn't be here in this state, if anything. And it was very welcoming, and they still wanted me to come in, but I actually never made it in. And it's not saying that I wasn't unworthy. It was more of, I didn't want to do that. And I talked to this thing in my head, and I even believe I tried talking to it out my mouth, but I remember hearing myself being like, it was a really weird experience that lasts for like 10-15 minutes. What a fucking ride. So let's get into the second story, because this happened on the same day, so let's get into that. And before I do, DMT is dimethyl tryptamine, which is essentially what our body produces. They even say it produces when, you dream and before you die, and our body just produces it naturally, and it comes from a tree. Before we do start the story, I'm going to look up that tree really quick. The tree is called Tepezuate tree, which I believe is found in Mexico. I could be wrong there, and I could have butchered that name so bad. So let's get into the second trip that I had. So, later in the same night, I decided to have 4 shots of spiced rum, and I was feeling pretty cocky, so I decided, well, why not do it again? So, I decided to take 4 hits this time, which is, I think, 3 is the recommended to break through. And, bro, this trip was just not fun. So, what ended up happening is, after I took the 4 hits, I started to see these shapes, and I remember these colors because these colors made me feel really sick, and it was purple and beige white. That was the color of the tiles. It was the same sort of thing that I saw with the squares turning into diamonds. It was the same type of thing, and I was like going through this like really purple, beige, white tunnel is the best way to describe it. And I saw this face, and I don't watch the show because the face looked like the Fry guy from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. I don't watch the show, so I don't know his name. If you guys do, let me know down in the comments what that character's name is. And I saw that appear just like out of thin air, obviously, since it's a psychedelic. And it smirked at me. Well, actually, no, it smirked at me after in my head I was yelling at it, and it told me, without moving its mouth, that I was going to puke, because I actually felt like I was about to throw up. And I got up, still tripping, had my eyes open, and when you're on DMT and your eyes are open, it's still overlaid with, like, that whatever it is you're going through. Like, your vision's still overlaid with the trip. So I tried to get up to walk over to the top of the stairs, and I stopped myself, because the person was telling me it's not a good idea, and it was not a good idea. So I thought about it, I was like, no, I'm gonna go back and sit down. And I didn't puke, but the feeling I got, because after I started yelling, I was like, fuck you, because I was feeling like anxious, and it disappeared, and I was still feeling that, like nothing else showed up, which is the weirdest thing. And I continued to go down this tunnel, and I felt like it was like there still, because I still felt anxious. Which was really not a good time, and probably, honestly, shouldn't have drank and tried it, but, you know, you only live once, so whatever. You know, I'm still here, thankfully, and, yeah, that was really intense, man. Like, I'd do it again even after that. Like, I don't know. That's just me, though. Like, I enjoyed it the first time, and it was one of the first feeling, the way to describe it, was very euphoric. Like, I was super comfortable with where I was headed in the journey. It was really weird, you know? And so I want to get into my own theories, because a lot of people like talking about how this opens the 4th dimension. I don't really know about that, so let's get into my theories here. So, as you all know, some people will like to say that psychedelics open other walls for us to get to other dimensions. Ooh. I'm not going to discredit that. I think that is indeed very possible. The issue that I have is that psychedelics are probably the least thing that should get us to dimensions, because it's like, you know, if alcohol could get us into, like, certain dimensions, which, you know, maybe it could, I don't know. Honestly, don't care, because I wouldn't want to be going through dimensions drunk as shit. I don't necessarily believe that's the case. The way I felt the first time, and the best way I could describe it, was like I was dreaming. Like I tapped into the dream sphere of, you know, of my brain, right? Like I both times, regardless of the face that I saw, it ended up disappearing because the person, I didn't mention this, but the person did say it's all in my head, and after I heard that, it just disappeared. So I don't really know if DMT is like, you know, your trip is actually you awake in some other place, and I could see, you know, why people say that, specifically because it does feel like you're conscious in another realm and all that stuff, and it's a really weird experience, because you didn't like change your behavior, you didn't get really goofy or anything like that. It was more of like you were still yourself. The other thing too that I think it could be is, people experiencing entities, and a lot of people have experienced the same thing, and I hate this one because of the fact that, have you ever heard of the placebo effect, where you hear one thing and then your brain actually picks up on that and then you start to kind of believe it? It happens with zodiac signs. I think that's what could be happening with people who experience the same entities, like the machine elves, demons, or whatever the case is. But again, I'm not saying that it possibly could be a dimension opener. I personally don't think so. My main big theory is that you tap, like, if you trip hard, I think that means you have a pretty active mind, and because the brain is one of the most powerful things in the body, because we still don't know the capacities and the limitations and how powerful the brain is. So I'd assume that, maybe in reality that I think maybe it's just over imagination. Like, you're just tapping into it in such a way that it is so trippy. I'm kind of leaning more towards like it being you tapping into your dream sphere and you being actually able to navigate through that, which I guess in a way is like going through dimensions, but I don't think that DMT would be like the gateway to another dimension. Possibly, but I'm not saying it's very likely. Sorry to disappoint you for those of you that do want to believe it, but it is an experience at the end of the day. Like, it's really strange, So, without further ado, I'm going to sign off. I don't want to spend too much time talking about this because this is not what the channel's about, but I wanted to share this with you guys because it was a weird week, because the weirdest part for me was the after effects. I started having these really weird dreams, like, it was weird. And then just recently, I felt like I connected in a way with my ancestors. Well, because I got into meditation through the help of DMT. Because you can release it yourself, which is quite funny because it's, now I don't know if it's proven, but it's said that we do have DMT in our body. I'm pretty sure it is proven. I don't know. I'm not a fucking scientist. I'm a psychonaut. But I did want to share this experience. I thought it was weird. I don't think I made it to any dimensions because, honestly, the trip that I had was a little different than what I hear reported a lot, like on Reddit and what other people say. And the thing I took away from it, from the first trip, was that I viewed myself as a bad person, and that's why I was able to even make it to the gates of heaven. And I felt that after coming back, it was like, I'm not that bad of a guy. Like, if you think you're a bad person, you didn't commit any serious shitty crimes, I don't think you're a bad person. We're not perfect human beings. In the bad trip that I had that same night, I learned two things. It was that I shouldn't have done it on alcohol. And the second thing is, my fear, one of them, is anxiety. I have anxiety. A lot of people do. And I was screaming at it. Honestly, I was screaming at my fear. Weird shit. But at the end of the day, if it was offered to me again, I would probably take the offer. I'm not going to go out of my way, which is the other weird thing. I don't want to go out of my way to get it and to do it again, which is really strange. Like, marijuana was a lot different. Yeah. So anywho, I'm sorry. I just wanted to share that experience. If you tried it, what's your experience? Anywho, that's me, Sacred G. Stay away from drugs. And no, psychedelics are not the answer to cure your mental illness. Okay? That's why we have psychiatrists. So, without further ado, it's me, Sacred G. Peace the fuck out. And enjoy your own journey, because we only get to experience it once. Thank you all for watching, and I appreciate you listening as well. Peace the fuck out.